Emily seems to be a smart woman, and I would advise her that she set clear boundaries around herself as it relates to people who threaten her, be it in jest or real. And within those boundaries, you don't allow people who threaten you to hug you or to hold your hand. That's a non starter.
Stay away from disingenuous assholes who even happen to be your husband.
Welcome to Cliff Alerts.
Today we're going to be talking about Lifetime Network's reality-based TV series, Married at First Sight, season number 17, episode number 20, Decision Day.
But before we get into it, please like, share, and subscribe. Please hit that notification button so you know when we upload new content. And we thank you and are grateful for your support. Emily and Brennan, and both of them, before arriving at the location, Emily said that she was a little bit nervous. But one thing's for sure, she has to get out everything that she has to say.
Brennan also, in his part, is feeling nervous. He was speculating about how Emily might come in as being angry or hostile, but in any event, he's in a good space, in a good place, so he's just going to try to make the best of it.
The experts are sitting with each other, and they said that, when people are involved in a serious accident like Emily did, usually it brings couples together.
As they're going through a tumultuous time and they're kind of looking towards and leaning in towards each other to kind of get through the process.
And they said they were happy when they spoke to her. She was saying that Brennan was taking care of her, feeding her, making sure she gets to appointments, etc., etc. And that was a good thing. However, Pastor said that regardless of how much vetting they do, that doesn't mean that they can weed out everyone who doesn't present their authentic self and or wants an actual relationship with someone else.
You can make up your mind for yourself whether or not their rhetoric matches their actions.
Case in point, Brennan. As to knowing the conflict and the issues that are coming in hot, he said civility is the only thing that matters right through here.
Civility, okay, so that's a goal. That's a goal to shoot for or to strive for. But you know what? Let's get the truth out on the table.
Based on their experience with him and their interaction with him, they already see that he was a mistake.
Right, and
so they're trying to take the professional route and not just expose him.
You can be professional and also be pointing it at the same time. And I wish that they had been, more of that.
Emily said that Brennan was her type. She appreciated him being at her side after the accident, but he put up walls between them during or after their honeymoon that he never took down.
And for his fake part, Brennan said that Emily has a lot of admirable qualities, but they didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, especially as it relates to communication. And he was, from my vantage point, kind of compounding matters and using this whole negativity vibe coming from her as an excuse for justifying his foolish behavior.
He has no idea of awareness and how he comes across.
Some grown folks can see behind and or beyond that and see him for what he's truly projecting based on what he's doing. And it doesn't matter what he says. What matters is what he does in comparison to what he says.
He only sees his role or his point of view, and he continues to deceive himself.
Yeah, he's adept at doing that.
Anyone checking for this dude gotta know, because he can't hold that persona for long. When asked about personal growth and accountability, he said he grew. He realized that he is more resilient than he thought he was.
And he said, I did everything I could. And Peter said, hold up, son. No, you didn't. Why are you lying? You happened.
And I think she's mentioned exercises that she gave them
Yes.
that he ignored,
Mhm.
and he didn't.
He changed them.
He changed them up, and he didn't do them
Right.
at all.
Right.
And he convinced Emily that that was the thing to do, because earlier in the season, that's what he was doing continuously, and she was just going along.
Right, exactly.
Dr. Pierre put his nose in,
Stuck his nose in his
what
own
he was doing.
ish, yeah.
He turned to Emily and said, "Well, have not I been doing what the exercise was?" Then he said, "Yes or no?" And she said, "No, I'm not gonna, it's not black and white. I can't answer it like that."
Translation: I'll answer the question any way I so please.
And she went in and said that typically there would be repercussions if she did not go along with how he decided things would go, particularly when they met with experts and all this other stuff, that there would be consequences if she went against what he had to say or what he wanted her to say. He said that she was a negative person, and she said, "No, I'm not. I'm not a negative person. That's not who I am."
You just choose not to see the best in me. That's what the issue is.
And that he wanted to protect her.
Protect her
That
from what?
foolishness.
What on earth is he talking about when he says, I'm trying to protect her? Protect her from what?
His harsh words. He said his efforts were not enough. Woe is me. I'm undone. I did all that I could, and I'm still here in this place. And this is when Dr. P asked him if he's going to take personal accountability. Pastor said at this point, what did Pastor say?
I got to call BS on you, bro. All right? You ain't, look, you might be fooling somebody else, but you're not fooling me. All right? I'm starting to see this for what it is. And Pia will, well, let the church say amen.
She said, thank you. Thank you for saying something.
Right. And from my vantage point, I thought Pastor Cal could have done a little bit more than that, because remember, he had an opportunity to meet with them at their apartment.
When he met with him, he recognized that Brennan suppressed his emotions, a bit rigid in how they were dealing with each other.
Right.
And we all remember when he brought that tape in and Brennan did his audition tape.
Right.
And Brennan said that he would be this kind of person, but that's not what Emily got.
Right.
That's when she said, that's not the dude who showed up.
And that was after Brennan had done the same thing and seen her tape and said, you know what, this is pretty much who showed up, who I got.
Showed up.
Right.
Pastor said that it was obvious he was placating Emily as well during his first meeting. So Pastor knew he was on some BS, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And Pastor wanted that to miss him.
Miss me with that.
You don't want that stuff spattering on him.
Right. And Pia was like, yeah, well. And
Pia was revving to go. However, she had to pull it all the way back. There's a level of professionalism that they had to maintain.
I wish they had just left that place for just a quick second, got detoured off that road. I would have loved to have seen that.
Then Dr. Pierce started talking about whether he wanted to take ownership of his emotional disrespect
towards Emily.
Right.
And then when the question was asked, do you, right?
Yeah.
And what was his response?
He was he turned to her and said, "Well, I'm sorry about, making you feel this way." And she asked him, "Well, do you know what you're saying sorry about?"
Long hesitation, long pause.
He hesitated, and that's an indication
that he's a fake.
Responding.
He's fronting.
He's fronting. He's not being sincere.
Right.
And then Dr. Swartz had to tell Emily to remind him what he was apologizing for, which was hysterical in itself.
Yeah.
And Emily talked about the disrespect he rained on her when the cameras were off. She talked about he requesting that she delete diary cams.
Well, what are you scared of?
Because he didn't want that information that she was, pouring out to be known. They had a conversation and he threatened to ruin her life. Dr. Pierce said, "Well, I need you to address what Emily's saying."
And then he tried to tell a rational lie to justify it in his response.
Yeah. Dr. Pia asked him to address that point about the threat because, that's a serious allegation.
Right.
And he said she told him she will go to war with him.
Well, she threatened me.
Right.
So that
And
was
I'm not sure after seeing how Emily moves that she would say, I'm going to go to war with you.
she might have some. She might have some strong words, but it wouldn't be in a threatening manner.
She immediately denied it, but he said that's what she said.
Yeah, show you right.
They were going back and forth, and Pastor said, well, at this point, just tell us what you decide. And both of them clearly, rightfully decided that they should be
Right,
divorced.
right.
Emily, in her camp, she said she deserves better than Brennan,
Absolutely, she does.
and she's right about that. She says she deserves respect. Absolutely. He said he did his best and it was not his intention to silence her. When Emily was in the company of all the couples, Emily said that she had something to say to Brennan. And she leaves her seat and goes and sits next to him, and he takes her hand, and she said she apologized for her part in the breakup.
Which is admirable, but she could have done that from across the.
She's sitting.
And not only that too, but what did he do to deserve that kind of treatment from her? You know, I mean, he as her husband, he was obligated to be there for her and to make sure she was okay as it relates to that accident.
And then she lets him hold her hand and hug her. This is the man who the day before you were telling he threatened you to ruin your life.
Right. So
now you want to hug it up?
right. So
Make it make sense.
no, I'm not going to do that. But what I will say is maybe she kind of um, began to do a little bit of performative acting herself in front of the camera
Because it doesn't connect.
and not only that too, but he asked her if it changed anything. She said no.
I think at this point, they're all reaching for something that is not there, and to secure their mental health, create boundaries around themselves.
Well, I think Cameron has done that.
So that the foolishness doesn't come into their space.
In terms of boundaries, I would think that anybody dealing with Brennan has to set boundaries and make them clear to him up front because he's going to cross them based on his own agenda.
Someone who threatens you, you don't want them to hold your hand or to hug them. You don't want to be in their face grinning and skinning. That ain't what you're about. Regardless if you're acknowledging your part of issue, you say your piece right where you're sitting and let that be done with.
And let me say this. To me, Brennan has done more to show up as negative on camera by his own doing through his own actions and in comparison to what he said than Emily could have ever done to him. The negativity that he tried to label her as being and all that, as far as her persona, boomerang back on him.
I just hope that Emily understands that she deserves better. And because she deserves better, you can't look forward by looking back.